Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It's Saturday, September 13th, 2025, and on Saturdays we talk about sports and humor. We've been talking about flowers all week with the Dr. J Vlog series, so I'm going to talk a little bit about flowers in the context of sports and sporting achievements. So in Olympics past, during the medal ceremonies, athletes received not just their gold, silver, and bronze medals. The athletes also would receive commemorative bouquets featuring multi-hued flowers and foliage. That's right. Olympians historically received flowers to commemorate their achievements, kind of the quintessential symbol of excellence and achievement, a sign of respect for their hard work and dedication, and obviously championship-level performances. The often meticulous arrangements were featured prominently in podium photos of the past. The design had to be approved by the International Olympic Committee, and then the orders had to be placed carefully at just the right time to ensure that everything was grown and showed up and could be distributed properly and while still looking good. The bouquets had to meet a few criteria, including being relatively fragrance-free and able to withstand temperature fluctuations, especially in the Winter Games, because flowers are given out at both the Summer and Winter Games. The flowers also couldn't bruise easily and had to be able to live without water for a couple of days. The floral gifts often incorporated symbolism that was related to the host city of the Olympics, dating back to the start of the modern Olympic Games in Athens in 1896. Of course, the practice dates back much further to ancient Greece, at which time wreaths and branches were awarded at both sporting and musical competitions. So the historical records, for example, show that the Olympic champions then were given wreaths that were made of olive branches. And these were taken from sacred trees that were grown near the Temple of Zeus in Olympia. Kind of cool. And hence, when the games were revived in Athens in 1896, first place winners also received an olive branch wreath. And those who placed second were given one that was made from laurel branches. A century later, the bouquet for the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia, was designed by the florist Mary Jo Means. And it's a remarkable bouquet. 5 flowers were chosen to represent the 5 Olympic rings. The blooms included sunflowers, coxcomb, tiger lilies, larkspur, and tuberose. Now, for the record, each of these symbolizes something in particular. So the sunflowers were to symbolize loyalty, coxcomb symbolizes immortality, tiger lilies are often associated with pride, and then larkspur was reflected in, or I should say, represents swiftness. And then finally, the tuberose represents love. Now, I find the last one interesting because tuberose traditionally and cross-culturally has represented more of a kind of passionate and almost forbidden love, largely due to its rather strong and some would say intoxicating fragrance. So anyway, the 1996 Olympic bouquet, it's commemorated in a poster that you can actually still purchase online if you're interested. It's for $200, which seems a bit pricey to me, but nonetheless, I'll leave a link in the description below. When I last looked, there were only 5 left in stock. So, and then in 2000, the large bright red waratah flower, which is native to Australia, and it is actually the state flower of New South Wales. This was prominently featured in the 2000 Olympic Games bouquet. They included in the bouquet as well billy buttons, wax flowers, flannel flowers, kangaroo paws, and white oak, all from the different regions of Australia. And as the Olympics returned to Athens in 2004, fittingly, olive branches were reintroduced, harkening back to those first international competitions. Several olive farms on the island of Crete provided the branches that made over 5,500 wreaths, with some farmers claiming their trees were thousands of years old. They also included African daisies, tansies, sea lavender, and goldenrod in their fascinating bouquets. From the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver, Quick's Farm Floral Shop in Chilliwack, BC, grew some 10,000 green chrysanthemums for the center of each of the bouquets. And these were surrounded by hypericum berries, leatherleaf, aspidistra leaves, and monkey grass, completing an all-green arrangement. And then the finished arrangements for the bouquets were tied with a blue bow. And finally, skipping ahead further to the 2020 or early 2021, because of the pandemic, the Olympic Games in Japan, most of the flowers that were used in the bouquets there were grown in areas that were hit by that disastrous 2011 Tohoku earthquake. And so sunflowers, for example, were planted on a hill in Miyagi prefecture north of Tokyo by the parents whose children had perished there after they were seeking safety from the ensuing tsunami. So it's kind of a bittersweet remembrance, if you will. Blue gentian flowers matched the color of the logo for the Tokyo Games and were grown in Iwate Prefecture, where more than half of those flowers originate in Japan. And the Lisianthus, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is from the Fukushima Prefecture, where a nuclear accident occurred after the earthquake. And then the aspidistra leaves in the bouquets were actually grown in Tokyo. Okay, so in the flowers then, this tradition, I should say, of including flowers actually ended then with the 2024 Summer Games in Paris. I don't know if it'll be revived or not, but a vibrant dahlia was bred especially for the Paris Olympics, but it was only seen in gardens because there were no bouquets. Paris's 2024 goal, ostensibly, was to cut the carbon footprint of the Games in half, at least compared to previous Olympics. And as part of that effort, handing out thousands of short-lived bouquets to the podium finishers was, pardon the expression, weeded out of the program. And then finally, I'll just turn briefly to horse racing, right? So there's the annual Run for the Roses each year at the Kentucky Derby, where the winning jockeys smothered in a blanket of roses in a tradition that dates back to 1884. 2 weeks later, after the Derby, the racing world moves to Pimlico in Baltimore, Maryland for the Preakness. And that's the second leg of the vaunted Triple Crown in horse racing. And there, a variety of chrysanthemums that resemble summer perennials comprise the winner's blanket. And then finally, the third leg of horse racing's Triple Crown. For that one, the winner of the Belmont Stakes receives a blanket of 400 to 700 white carnations shipped in from either California or Colombia. And like the rose blanket at the Derby, it takes about 10 hours to create and weighs almost 40 pounds. But of course, the ultimate expression for humans, the ultimate victory, if you will, always involves our expressions of love and the connection between humans. As I stated at the outset of the vlog this week, people universally love to receive flowers on a variety of different occasions, but none more special than from that special someone. And perhaps maybe even from one's children to one's parents, and of course they're used for all kinds of celebratory occasions. So basically, though, whoever's special in your life will almost certainly love to receive flowers. Just be careful to check out beforehand what do the flowers, or what are they intended to symbolize, especially to avoid potential embarrassment. All right, as ever, in the meantime, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs and flowers in abundance. And never underestimate flower power. Peace.